Manny Fresh is finally revealing how much Birdman allegedly stole from him, a number hidden behind years of silence, darker than hip-hop was ever prepared for. For over a decade, Manny Fresh was the heartbeat of Cash Money Records. Every beat, every hit, every platinum record that built that label was him, his work, his genius, poured into a machine that made other people extraordinarily rich. While the world watched Cash Money dominate charts and build one of rap's most celebrated empires, Manny Fresh was allegedly watching millions flow through a label he helped create without ever seeing his fair share. This isn't just a story about a producer who didn't get paid. It's about one of the most talented men to ever sit behind the boards. Allegedly used as a tool, drained of his genius, and left holding the short end of the stick, while the label he helped build from the ground up counted the money his music made. For years, Manny stayed quiet, chose his words carefully, kept the peace, but the truth surfaces eventually, and what he's since revealed in his interviews paints a picture impossible to ignore. By the end, you'll understand exactly what he went through, and why what Birdman allegedly did deserves to be said loudly and clearly. Byron Thomas was born March 20th, 1969. In New Orleans' 7th Ward, not just a neighborhood, but a culture built on brass bands, second lines, and a musical lineage running deep as the ground itself. Byron grew up inside that culture. Music wasn't something he discovered, it was something he was born into. His mother taught school. His father, DJ Sabu, was one of the city's most respected local DJs, a man who read sound systems and crowds the way other people understand their native language. From childhood, Byron watched his father work the turntables, absorbing music the way other kids absorb books. His parents leaned into that passion early, gifting him instruments instead of ordinary toys, an investment that would pay off in ways no one in that house could have predicted. As a teenager, Byron took the name Manny Fresh and began DJing school dances across New. He wasn't just spinning records, he was performing, turning every set into a full show. He'd bring an 88 drum machine, programming original beats over what he played, turning every event into something bigger than a party. He joined one of New Orleans' earliest, most influential hip-hop crews, New York Incorporated, alongside a young Mia X, later one of No Limit Records' biggest names, and Denny D, a New York transplant who introduced techniques like transforming and scratching that most local DJs had never seen. Manny later called that period a training camp, learning without headphones, absorbing every trick he could get his hands on. That hunger set him apart from everyone else on the New Orleans club circuit. By the late 1980s, he'd partnered with rapper Gregory D, becoming one of the city's first homegrown acts to earn real local traction. A legendary session at C. Saint Studios, owned by Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee Alan Toussaint, produced Buck Jump Time, one of the most beloved early hip-hop records in New Orleans history. Their 1987 debut, Throwdown, followed, and Manny kept releasing music with Gregory D into the early 90s, including The Real Deal on RCA Records in 1992. But the major label experience left a bad taste in his mouth. He watched firsthand how corporations handled street music with no urgency, no passion. He walked away frustrated, wiser, and hungry for something different. That something arrived in 1993, when Manny crossed paths with two brothers whose vision was bigger than anything he'd seen before. Brian "Baby" Williams and his older brother Ronald "Slim" had founded Cash Money Records 2 years earlier. In 1991, still a raw regional operation, selling records out of the trunk on nothing but hustle and street credibility. Baby made him a direct offer: become the in-house producer, build this thing from the ground up. Manny accepted and later described those early days not as a record label, but as a group of street dudes who decided to try the music business. A line that would end up meaning more than anyone in that room could have guessed. Through the first half of the 90s, Cash Money built its footprint one release at a time. Pimp Daddy, UNLV, Miss T, Lil Slim moving hundreds of thousands of records with Manny producing every single one. No outside producers, no major label backing, just the in-house sound he was inventing in real time. Syncopated jazz drums fused with bounce music energy, live instruments over heavy bass, something that could only come from New Orleans. His signature blaring horns, second-line snares, playful synths over thick kicks, was becoming one of the most recognizable production identities in Southern hip-hop. By the mid-1990s, the roster exploded. A 12-year-old Dwayne Carter, soon to be Lil Wayne, joined BG on the label. Juvenile brought undeniable commercial magnetism, and Turk rounded things out. In 1997, the four were grouped as the Hot Boys, the group Cash Money would use to break nationally. Before any crossover success, Juvenile's independent album Soldier Rags moved 200,000 copies with zero national distribution, a number that caught Universal Records' attention. At a time when Southern rap barely registered nationally, Cash Money was already moving serious units on Nothing But Hustle and Manny Fresh behind the boards on every track. That track record gave the Williams brothers the leverage to walk into a negotiation with one of the biggest companies in music and refuse anything less than extraordinary terms. Here's exactly what that deal looked like, because this is where the story turns. In March 1998, finalized that May, Cash Money signed a $30 million pressing and distribution deal with Universal Records, still considered one of the most favorable deals an independent label has ever landed. Brokered with help from Wendy Day and the Rap Coalition, it gave Cash Money 85% of royalties, full ownership of every master recording, and left Universal with roughly a 7% distribution fee. Universal handled logistics. Cash Money kept nearly everything else. The Williams brothers reportedly walked away with a $2 to $3 million advance. According to people close to the deal, Universal chairman Doug Morris personally entered the room after Birdman and Slim nearly walked out on a lowball offer. Hip-hop called it the Louisiana Purchase, and the name fit. What followed proved every instinct the Williams brothers had was right. Cash Money's first release under the deal, Juvenile's November 1998 album 400 Degrees, produced entirely by Manny Fresh, peaked at number 9 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 5 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling Southern rap albums ever, landing on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. The single Back That Ass Up, also Manny's, made Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs list too. Between 1998 and 2001, Cash Money dropped 18 top 5 Billboard singles and 11 platinum or multi-platinum albums, nearly all of it Manny Fresh's work. Between 2001 and 2003, the label sold 7 million more. The Hot Boys' Guerrilla Warfare went platinum. BG's Chopper City in the Ghetto went platinum. Lil Wayne's Thaw Block Is Hot went platinum. Big Timer's Hood Rich debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, spawning Still Fly number 11 on the Hot 100 and 2 Grammy nominations. Manny Fresh's production during this era generated over 23 million units sold worldwide, with 17 songs earning gold, platinum, or multi-platinum RIAA certifications. But here's where it gets real. While Cash Money projected the image of a unified, wealthy family, matching outfits, jewelry, Bentleys, Ferraris in every video, underneath sat a financial structure many of the people who built it were reportedly never shown clearly. Manny Fresh was allegedly inside a business he helped create with no real visibility into it. Money flowed, the empire grew, but the man generating that value was allegedly used without ever grasping the true scale of what was being taken from him. Manny has spoken openly about his contract and compensation, describing an operation that ran more like a street hustle than a corporation. In his 2005 Fader cover story, his first major interview after leaving, he said he approached the work like family, not as someone protecting his contractual rights. He trusted them completely. He later admitted he was clearing around $50,000 or more per beat at his peak significant, until you weigh it against the hundreds of millions those beats generated for the label and the Williams brothers. Standard industry practice entitles a producer to 2 to 5% mechanical royalties per unit, plus performance royalties and publishing income on any co-writes. The Universal deal reportedly gave Cash Money 50% of its publishing revenue, still enormously favorable for an independent label. But what that money actually looked like once it passed through Cash Money's internal accounting is a question Manny Fresh and several other artists have raised publicly for years, without ever getting a transparent answer. And Manny wasn't the only one asking. Juvenile left in 2001 after Project English, citing financial reasons. When Cash Money offered $4 million to settle, he took them to court instead and reportedly walked away with roughly $11 million. He returned in 2003 for a $4 million deal, signing over rights to Juve the Great, which sold over 1 million copies. BG departed citing financial mismanagement and never returned. Producer Bangladesh, who made one of Lil Wayne's biggest records, A Milli from Thaw Carter 3, sued Cash Money in 2010 over royalties, telling Vibe directly that the label doesn't pay. Tyga later sued for $10 million, made worse by the fact he'd signed his original deal at 17 with a lawyer who also represented Cash Money. A textbook conflict of interest. And Wendy Day, who negotiated the historic Universal deal and helped make the Williams brothers rich, has alleged that when she tried collecting her standard 5% finder's fee, Birdman's response was essentially, sue him. The list runs long, and every case follows the same script. Someone builds something, the money flows, and the accounting meant to flow back somehow gets stuck along the way. For Manny Fresh, that reality hit a breaking point around 2004 to 2005. He released his solo debut, The Mind of Manny Fresh, in 2004, a sprawling 30-track project with the single Real Big, peaking at number 79 on the Hot 100, proving he had the talent and audience to stand alone. But the relationship with Cash Money had already soured past repair. In 2005, Manny officially left. Asked why, he didn't hide behind diplomacy. He said plainly he left because of money. Scratch moolah. 3 words. No ambiguity. The man who produced 400 Degrees, crafted Back That Ass Up, turned bling bling into a cultural phenomenon, and built the sound behind Hood Rich, Thaw Block is Hot, Guerrilla Warfare, and Chopper City in the Ghetto. That man walked away because his compensation wasn't right. What followed was a legal standoff. In June 2006, All Hip Hop confirmed Cash Money had reached a settlement with Manny Fresh, resolving the dispute terms never disclosed, sealed to this day. Confidentiality locked away the specifics, leaving only confirmation that something real had happened, with no way of knowing its size. Manny said at the time he had to do what he had to do, the situation wasn't right. But he still saw the Cash Money people as brothers and chose peace over a public war. What's never gone away is the question of how much Manny Fresh actually lost. He's consistently implied he was dramatically underpaid relative to what he built, but he's never named a specific figure publicly. That number stays private, but the commercial record gives us scale. Juvenile's 400 Degrees alone sold 5 million copies. At a late 90s wholesale price of roughly $12 per unit, that's about $60 million in revenue from one album. A producer entitled to even a 2% royalty would theoretically be looking at over $1 million from that record alone before other royalty streams. Multiply that across 15 gold and platinum albums, 17 RIAA certified singles, and 23 million units sold total, and the gap between what Manny should have received and what he's described receiving becomes one of hip-hop's most striking, painful contrasts. On Birdman's side, the picture is genuinely complicated. Brian Williams has never publicly disrespected Manny Fresh. In a 2018 Billboard interview, he acknowledged the two had been through a lot together, pointing to the fact both men lost sisters in the years after their split. Manny's sister, Angela Bryant, was murdered in 2007, and Birdman faced his own family tragedy around the same time. He said their bond grew stronger through shared grief, and that Manny put together their eventual Big Timers reunion himself. That detail matters. It complicates any simple villain and victim framing, even amid serious allegations. That bond is what made 2018's Designer Caskets so significant part of the Before Anything documentary soundtrack. It was the first new Big Timers music in roughly 15 years, a reunion fans had stopped expecting. Directed by Benny Boom and shot through the streets of New Orleans, the video featured cameos from Juvenile and Turk. Manny's production was instantly recognizable, the melodies, the rhythm, the bounce. It sounded like coming home, that he'd stand in a video next to Birdman after everything said something about his character. On The Breakfast Club in 2020, Manny summed it up simply: you live, you forgive, and you keep it moving. Forgiveness isn't justice, but for Manny, peace came first. After Cash Money, he rebuilt with quiet consistency, signing with Def Jam South and forming his own label, Chubby Boy Records, before releasing his second solo album, Return of the Ballin', in October 2009, featuring Rick Ross and Lil Jon. He produced for T.I., Young Jeezy, Drake, Kanye West's 2012 Cruel Summer Project, Mystical, Trina, and many others. His beat for Lil Wayne's Go DJ went double platinum. He toured globally as a DJ, played the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, mentored younger producers, and became a respected elder statesman who never needed Cash Money's name attached to keep working at the highest levels. Then in April 2023, Reservoir Media announced the acquisition of Manny Fresh's entire catalog, both publishing and recorded rights. The price was undisclosed, but the deal confirmed what the industry already knew. The body of work he built at Cash Money is one of the most commercially durable catalogs in Southern rap history. Reservoir credited him with producing nearly all songs across 15 multi-platinum, platinum, or gold albums from 1998 to 2004, still sampled today by Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and Youngboy Never Broke Again, as close to an official industry appraisal of his legacy as anything ever put on paper. Birdman, meanwhile, kept building Cash Money into a machine that outgrew its founding roster. Signing Drake and Nicki Minaj in the late 2000s created a second commercial era that dwarfed even the label's original peak, with Lil Wayne's Young Money running as an imprint underneath it. But the disputes never stopped. Lil Wayne filed a $51 million lawsuit against Cash Money in 2014, alleging unpaid advances and improper copyright registration grievances that echoed everything Manny Fresh, Juvenile, BG, Bangladesh, and every other departure had said before him. The battle was public, prolonged, deeply personal, and resolved in 2018 on terms that, true to Cash Money tradition, were never disclosed. At its core, the story of Manny Fresh and Birdman isn't just about money. It's about what happens when a relationship is never formally defined. When two people with different definitions of fairness build something extraordinary without ever agreeing what each person is owed. Birdman came from the streets and ran the business like family, no paper trails when you trust the people around you. Manny Fresh came in as a creative who trusted that brotherhood would be enough. He showed up every day, gave everything to the music, and assumed the way people who love their craft often do that the people benefiting most from his work would recognize and reward it properly. That assumption cost him years of income he'll never get back. The question hip-hop fans will keep debating for decades is whether what happened to Manny Fresh was intentional exploitation or the inevitable result of an informal structure never built to account fairly for anyone inside it. Manny has never called it theft publicly. He's chosen peace and forgiveness over bitterness. But peace isn't accounting, and forgiveness isn't the same as saying things were right. The music he made is still generating money, still sampled, streamed, and celebrated, still landing on greatest of all time lists, and the man who made it spent years fighting for basic recognition, reached a settlement he's legally barred from discussing, and eventually sold his catalog to a company that recognized value his original partners apparently never properly paid him for. What makes Manny Fresh's legacy extraordinary is that none of it broke him, not the dispute, the departure, the legal battles, the years of rebuilding, the grief of losing his sister, the silence. None of it erased what he created or shrank what he gave to hip-hop. You can't unring 400 Degrees. You can't uncreate Back That Ass Up. You can't pretend Still Fly didn't earn 2 Grammy nominations, or that Bling Bling didn't become a permanent part of the culture. The music lives, moves, breathes, still reaching people who weren't even born when it was recorded. Some of the greatest producers alive today built their understanding of Southern rap by studying what Manny Fresh made in that New Orleans studio with nothing but drum machines, keyboards, and an ear for what made people feel something. That's not a footnote in hip-hop history, that's the foundation. That's what Manny Fresh built. The empire may have failed him financially, but the sound belongs to history regardless. And now that he's finally speaking on what really happened, hip-hop is starting to reckon with what one of its greatest architects was never fully paid. So here's the real question. What does Manny Fresh's story tell you about how this industry treats the people who actually build the sound, while the money ends up somewhere else? Drop your take in the comments, because this conversation isn't over, and if this hit different, stay locked in, because the deep dives into the stories that built Southern hip-hop are just getting started.